beautiful people. I'm gonna workshop some names with you guys real quick. Berry patch. Juicy berries. I don't know. I've been trying to brainstorm it. But anyways, my name is Imani and I have lost 53 and counting pounds. Yes, my highest was 209, but during high school when I really started to get into fashion and wanting to explore my style, I was probably around 180, 190 something. But right now I am in the 150s, and this is the lowest I've been since I was maybe in elementary school, because I think even in middle school I may have been a bit more. So this is the thinnest I've ever been in like a more mature body. So a lot of stuff I'm still workshopping. Now, like I said, I started really getting into fashion during high school, specifically COVID year. I moved to another high school and I didn't really have too many friends, and then we went into COVID, so I was pretty much a loner and cooped up in my room. And although I was blowing up from all the eating and laying around I was doing, I was also getting interested in fashion. So I've always, regardless of my size, tried to get into it. Oh, let me show you guys my makeup. It's pretty simple, but I want to show anyways. But yeah, like although I was exploring my style regardless of my size, there are definitely limitations from society and mentally and physically when you are trying to do that. And change is okay, you know. I've been, always a supporter of change if it's for the better, and I feel so much better. Mentally, physically, and these are just some unintentional benefits that I realized were losing weight and helping me with my style and fashion overall. So without further ado, let's get into it. I'm looking to the side of my laptop because that's where I wrote my notes. But numero uno, I am just more confident generally with what I'm wearing. Like, I've always been generally confident, but I think there's always need for improvements. And it's not like every day you're always going to feel 100% the most confident, but it's like when it comes to weight loss, it's a daily thing. You are constantly making promises to yourself and seeing if you can actually accomplish it, if you can show some sort of discipline, some sort of self-love, whatever you want to call it. You have to do that daily for your body and for yourself to even get results. So doing that in and of itself feeds into your confidence, because you're like, okay, I can do this, and you're seeing the results of what you're doing physically, which is one of the easier ways to see it. So with all that daily judgments and choosing to do this, that, and the third, it definitely boosted my confidence. But even away from that, just physically, like, even though I still liked how I looked for the most part, there was a time that, okay, I'm back. I had to delete some stuff. My storage ran out. But like I was saying, yeah, so keeping promises to yourself, boosting your confidence, boosting your energy, all of that stuff plays a part in your confidence, and that in turn will influence your style. And another thing, tools, is that when you're finding your style, when you have insecurities and other stuff around your body, you are more likely to choose things that may not be a preference, but more so what will cover some of those insecurities. So finding style, but you have this like voice in the back of your head about trying to figure out what ways you can wear this or do this to cover up certain things. Like, you don't want too much of this spilling out, or you can't eat as much because you feel like you're gonna look overly bloated even though you're already big. You know, I'm speaking for myself, you know, but I'm sure some people can resonate. And basically just wanting items to stay in place or only looking from certain angles because that's how you like it. Like all of those things in general, it's like, are you really choosing that because you like it and it's your preference, or because it is hiding some of your insecurities? And for me, I definitely was still wearing crop tops and things along that, you know, aspect, but I realized that I prefer mid-rise or low-rise jeans, but I was more so wearing high-rise because if I was wearing a crop top or any kind of top in general, the high-rise jeans would kind of give a shapewear effect. But it wasn't because I genuinely liked high-rise jeans. I mean, I thought I did at the time, but that was, in hindsight, I liked it, but not, you know, I didn't love it. I was just wearing it because it helped me with other things. Not to mention I had to stop wearing them as much when I got my belly button pierced because it would irritate it. So I just definitely realized that was an insecurity because I was like, look, I just, these regular jeans are not it. I see my belly bulge, like, come on now, no. But yeah, I still wore all of those things, but I would constantly be tugging, or in the back of my mind, I'd be like, okay, well, I know that this doesn't look as great as it could be, or, you know, my mini skirt's riding up, so it looks even shorter than what I'm comfortable with. And I'm not even a super modest person, but I still have my preferences when it comes to how much I'm showing. But when you just have more, you know, lumps and bumps and all that stuff is gonna, it's gonna scrunch up, you know. And sometimes, yeah, I was just wearing things in a way to hide my body rather than to complement it or emphasize things. And that goes into my third one, which is releasing micro insecurities. Yes. So I have stretch marks, right? But I don't feel like I felt when I was bigger with my stretch marks versus now. Because when I was bigger, they were more prominent. I would say they were darker, and they just feel, I feel like they stood out a bit more because it was like, okay, I'm bigger and I have stretch marks. So it was like, okay, well, I have stretch marks, one, because yeah, I got bigger, but also because I had a growth spurt, and you know, I'm, you know, a little bit tall. So, you know, I feel like after I lost the weight though, I still have the stretch marks, but they're lighter, they feel fainter, they feel like, okay, well, they're in spots where I'm growing muscle, so it makes sense. Like, it just, I don't feel as no about them as I used to. Like, yeah, I guess in general I prefer if I didn't have them, but if I do have them, I'd rather them be like, you know, a bit lighter and me be smaller to make me feel still better about it, you know. And you're just, there's less self-monitoring because, like I said, you know, you're self-conscious, so you're always, you know, trying to fix things, and you're going around and you're looking in every mirror to make sure that this isn't showing and this isn't spilling and da 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 da. Like, all of that stuff takes up so much brain power and energy. It fills your brain and it is so tiring. Like, just aside from fashion, just being bigger, it makes you think about so many other things that you really don't have to, you know. I realized that along the way. I was like, wow, my brain is actually a bit more clear now when I find clothes and all that stuff, like, because I don't have to think about this, that, and the third. And a lot of the solution was just losing weight or having more muscle definition, and that was that. So number 4, you have more style guides to follow. So I'm sure that some of you guys, if you are into fashion, you know about Kibbe, body types, things along those lines. But usually they don't really include plus size bodies, or like if they do, it's still, it's still kind of iffy because there's just even more, like after you get to a certain weight, you aren't even really seeing your exact body type anymore. So I would say I'm more of an hourglass or pear shape, but at my highest, was I still that a little bit, but it wasn't enough for me to be able to tell. Like if I kept going, I don't know if I would be able to tell that that is my body type, because your body type can only do but so much. And because you are pushing it to the limits, it is hard for your body to actually keep in with that. Or even if you do keep it, you are just bigger into it. So, you know, it can still work for some people, but for me, yeah, I was gonna lose that if I kept going. You know, there's only so much your body shape can let you get away with, which is why I think it was one of the reasons it took me a bit longer to really lock in, because I was like, well, you know, at least I have a smaller, you know, waist and I have hips and all that stuff, but that can only do but so much. But yeah, when you are able to gauge your weight more accurately and your body mass, and it's not distorting stuff, it just makes it so much easier to follow guides. Like I like to do things that flatter my shape for the most part. You know, I'll still do things that are quote unquote unflattering, but if you're trying to find your style, a period of being able to have more examples and be able to use more references is incredibly helpful. And I'm trying to get into sewing more and just having more accurate measurements for my body. You know, that's great too. Not to mention, it increases the longevity of the products that you are using, which is one of the reasons like society at large doesn't go, you know, to the further end of one direction when it comes to sizing, because one, you want to do it more so like where more people fall, but also the more you go, the more fabric you're using, the more supplies you have to use. So it's just, you know, it's like, okay, well, I gotta buy 2 times the amount of fabric just to have this one dress, when I don't even have to do that if I just lost some weight. And that would, you know, encourage me to keep going, because it wouldn't be so expensive and as time consuming if I didn't, you know, if I wasn't as big. So, but yeah, it is not needed, but it definitely helps with aspiration. And if you have that knowledge, you can find alternative avenues to give you inspiration, you know, so it's always helpful. Okay, so I kind of touched on this a little bit, but yeah, like most brands, they don't go above, I don't really know, I want to say like a 3X, you know, but if the bigger you get, you have to go to specific stores, and you know, that's fine too, but let's be honest, more stores aren't that than those that are. So you're missing out on so much of the other market depending on your size, especially if you are a young adult. Like when I was younger and I was bigger, I just did not feel as confident in some of my clothes because I felt like I was a mini, like middle-aged lady, like, you know, especially with just only being able to shop in certain areas, or if I was trying to be modest as well, it would be a bit more difficult because back then they were only really making those kind of things for the older demographic. So I pretty much just felt like I always looked a bit older than I actually was. I wasn't able to explore in those more youthful ways. And yeah, I just felt like I was aging myself by a lot of those clothes. But as I continue to get into fashion, specifically vintage and thrifting in early 2000s, even modern brands that are more luxury or niche, they don't carry more extended sizes. If anything, I would probably say XXL, and maybe not even that. Like if you are into early 2000s fashion, you know, low rise was in, crop tops were in. If you are into luxury fashion, you know most of the models are thin and they aren't going to like 3x, they aren't going to 2x, you know. They want to keep a certain clientele and some sort of exclusivity, so they are not really going to the further end. And that's just the reality of the situation. Like, we can cry about it all day, but if you are into fashion and you see the reality of the situation, you only really have two options. It's either you continue to find the brands that do cater to you and where you are currently, or you decide to do something to change it, and then those brands can align more with what you got going on. Those are your only two options, and I chose this one because I was like, well, I was already insecure. I already had, you know, I was generally confident, but I was still more insecure than I am now, most definitely. So why continue being insecure and not having as many options and things that genuinely interest me? Like, early 2000s sizing is probably still smaller than the modern sizing. So even if I were to do a medium or large in some things, I wouldn't be that in others. But having that wider range is so helpful. Like, come on now. I'm just saying. But I'm also into some Asian styles, like shoujo style and things along that nature. And if you are trying to get something directly from an Asian website and you're like bigger, just I'm not saying you can't do it, but I am saying is that if you are already complaining about American sizing, you're gonna have even more to complain about with Asian sizing. Because even now at my lowest, I may still be considered like a large, extra large, maybe even plus size with some Asian, you know, brands and sizing. They do a lot of one sizes, which is basically maybe like an extra small to medium, if that. So it's like, okay, you are even more constrained. So like, depending on your style, like anyone else besides Americans, they don't have that kind of wide range. Like, we are really the only ones who have such a wide range. In, you know, we still have improvements to do, but it's way wider than a lot of other places. So that just really confines your creativity and your exploration, just because there literally are no options. It's what it is. Like, you know, it's like good luck, babe. But yeah, I know what I like, and there are more limitations when you are a certain size, and I just could not do the whole faking it till I make it. Like, no, I wasn't completely happy at that size. So why do that when I could just fix what the problem is? But yeah, I hope this gave some insight to some more unintentional benefits of losing weight, and this can help you in your weight loss journey. This can be another way to motivate you, maybe like give yourself a little reward when you can finally fit into a certain brand or item that you've been looking at. Regardless of size, I advocate for expression. You know, like, even when I was bigger, I was doing this, that, and the third. Like, I was still getting it done. I was doing my darn thing. But I did want to change, and I did. And I'm really happy with where I am and the more I'm able to do after this change. And I'm still on my weight loss journey, but I'm not super strict or have a particular timeline. But I know that I will continue and make it into a lifestyle. I don't do quick fixes. Like, this is not what I'm doing anymore. If you spoke to high school me, then sure. But I have a playlist of what I eat in a day, and I want to start posting more long form workout content, so stay tuned for that. Yeah, let's lose some weight together and continuing developing our style along the way. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, like and subscribe, and I'll see you again.